Hello, brave, beautiful, beloved soul friends. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking time to connect and tune in. It is a blessed honor to be here with you today. I am so grateful for who you are in every breath and every heartbeat. Regardless of what might be happening within or around you, because you breathe and because your heart beats, you are perfect, magnificent, and unconditionally worthy of love, peace, joy, and freedom. Every part of you, including your inner child, is worthy of loving liberation. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here and thank you for being you. Thank you for having this space to share this time with me. Today I'd like to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart because of the impact, the expansive impact that it has had in my personal healing journey. In 2000, excuse me, the topic is an unconditional identity. An unconditional identity. What comes up when I say that? Just kind of tune in with what comes up and explore that for yourself so you can be consciously aware of your own inner being while sharing this journey in this video with me. Unconditional identity. In 2019, Kristen was living with adaptable consciousness condition, which means that there were many different people inside of this body due to independent activity within the neurobiological social engagement system that originated from suppressed early childhood trauma and continued to expand in its divergent neurodevelopment due to other moments of unfulfilled attachment needs and traumatic experiences throughout life. Kristen in 2019 had a complete mind-body disconnect. Her inner and outer realities had no correlation with each other, and her inner sensations of a mind had zero connection with her outer sensations of a body. Kristen in 2019 was experiencing hundreds, literally hundreds, of indescribably severe health challenges. And all during these experiences, including chronic trauma activations, chronic dorsal vagal collapses that led to severe oxygen deprivation, etc. And during these experiences, Kristen in 2019 was living with several age-regressive states of consciousness, which means that manifestations of the inner child were experiencing all of these horrors. There is a 6-month young infant experiencing all of these challenges. There was a 2-year-old toddler experiencing all of these health challenges, etc., etc. There were many age-regressive states of consciousness, a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, I think a 14-year-old. There were several age-regressive states of consciousness. So literally manifestations of the inner child were encountering all of these horrors. And so Kristen in 2019 began exploring the idea of, who am I? Who am I? Who am I really? Am I these health challenges? Am I the inability to sleep at night because of insomnia, because of all of these horrendous trauma activations and night terrors? Am I the inability to connect with my body? Am I the age regression? Am I the adult who's confused about how to maneuver existence? Am I defined by my background or where I live or what my experiences are? Am I defined by my work or my play? And Kristen explored this, and you can actually explore some of this in a podcast 2019 Kristen created. It's a very powerful podcast. I've listened to it several times since, because I don't really have much memory of creating it, and so I've listened to it several times, and it's very powerful, so I do recommend going and checking out the podcast. And you can discover more in video description below. I share a bunch of different links you can explore. The podcast is called Exploring Existence with the Certifiable Vagabond. And so Kristen in 2019 went on this journey to figure out who she really was. And that was especially epic because who she was experiencing herself as was constantly changing because of the dissociative switches while experiencing life with adaptable consciousness condition. So in some moments she was a 2-year-old toddler, in some moments she was a 5-year-old little girl, in some moments she was a woman in her 20s studying neuroscience. And so with all of these fluctuations in experience, she tried to figure out, who am I? Who the heck am I? And so Kristen in 2019 came to the conclusion that she is the energy of her heart space. She is the energy of her heart space. I am the presence of my breath. I am the love of my heartbeat, and that is all I ever want or need to be. And so Kristen began to identify with being loving presence, which was very ironic. It was very ironic to identify with being loving presence, because loving presence was literally the opposite of everything she was experiencing. She could not physically experience presence because of the hundreds of types of unique dissociation that were happening. She struggled to sense a feeling of love because every automated thought pattern held trauma activations, and so there was all these fear-based sensations in the body that did not feel like love, and parts were sometimes pit against parts as different aspects of the self were having totally different experiences that didn't align with each other. And so to identify with loving presence when that was the opposite of what was being experienced was a huge step in Kristen's healing journey. And then at the beginning of 2020, Kristen set out to completely dissolve all trauma fragments in her body and reconnect her mind and her body. And that began several months of the most excruciating inner shadow work you can possibly fathom. Among the intense severities was a 2.5 week long, without any breaks, 2.5 week long dissociative blackout that included age regressing to the youngest possible regions of age regression while experiencing the most severe trauma activations from the suppressed childhood trauma and associated neural wiring. And so at the beginning of 2020, the intensity of, sorry, it's got a little froggy in my throat, an actual frog. You can hear it rivet, 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 rivet. And so at the beginning of 2020, Kristen set out to reconnect her mind and her body. And this journey spiked the intensity of independent activity in the neurobiological social engagement system, which provided Kristen an opportunity in her implicit revelations case study to understand the depths of uniquarters to a profound degree of neuroscientific ramifications. And that was when she was starting to really understand what was happening to create these unique experiences. And that's when she solidified the term adaptable consciousness condition, as she understood that it stemmed from unique and independent activity within the neurobiological social engagement system specifically. And that idea branches off from the polyvagal theory. You can explore more about these ideas in my implicit revelations case study. And again, all the information about all my offerings is in the video description below, so please explore that. And so during this process, there is a lot of inner work with the physical body. And among the many intensities was Kristen was trying to reconnect her mind and her body and push through all of these implicit trauma fragment sensations that were keeping her from being connected with her own physical body and keeping all these states of consciousness independent from one another, unable to experience life together. And among the intense experiences was Kristen did yoga several times a day. And in between those yoga sessions, she was full body icing. So she had like 30 ice packs, like 30, like not just one or two, like a giant bag, literally a giant bag that was so heavy the handle started to break. A giant bag of ice blocks. And she put them on her entire body and meditated and tried to connect with her body. But there was so much inflammation and just horrendous things happening that were associated with the mind-body disconnect, that meditating and trying to be connected with the body, especially when there's ice blocks on you and there's all this pain and this uncomfortability because you're covered literally head to toe in ice blocks, it was very intense. And so Kristen took her unconditional identity a step further. And she said, I'm going to meditate on the idea of being loving presence and let everything else go. What can loving presence feel like even in this moment? What can loving presence feel like even when I'm in this horrendous state of a million trauma-related projections, trying to reconnect with my body when it's in excruciating pain and I'm in excruciating pain and there's all of this stuff happening? What can loving presence look like then? And so she connected again and again and again and again and again and again, moment by moment by moment by moment by moment, focusing on loving presence. And every nanosecond of meditating on the idea of loving presence was helping to rewire her brain and reconnect herself with her body very gradually. And so during these experiences, Kristen chose to focus on these ideas, and it helped a lot because there was so much dissociation that Kristen often did not know who or where she was. Oftentimes, she literally could not get to any neural wiring about who she was. She couldn't remember her childhood. She couldn't remember her adulthood. There was no explicit memory. There was just a million different implicit projections. And because she was having difficulty connecting with her body and difficulty orienting in time and space and all these different types of dissociation happening, she didn't know where she was. She didn't understand the location she was physically existing in because she wasn't fully in presence with that existence. And so she would write on her arm every single day, who am I? Love. Where am I? Presence. And she would come back to that truth in every single moment through conscious intentionality of directing her internal energy. And she would allow that truth to dominate her reality unconditionally. So even when she was in these excruciating experiences, even when she was struggling to reconnect her mind and her body, even when she was laying on these 30 ice packs to help the inflammation reduce and slowly help her body heal, she said, who am I? I am not these experiences. I am not necessarily the conceptualization of Kristen. I am love. That is my identity. That is my only identity. And that matters more than anything else in the universe possibly could. Who am I? Love. Where am I? Where am I? Am I in this space? Am I defined by the location that I'm in? Am I inside, outside? Am I in Antarctica? Am I in Europe? Am I in America? Am I defined by that? No. Where am I? Present. Presence. And so when Kristen literally could not sense who or where she was because of these unique health challenges, including literally hundreds of types of dissociation, which you can explore in thesis number 27 of my Implicit Revelations case study. She said, who am I? Love. Where am I? Present. That's all that matters. And that unconditional identity helped her maneuver the most intensely horrific experiences imaginable. And then later in 2020, as Kristen was integrating her brain hemispheres, completing halted stages of neurodevelopment, breaking down the continued amnesic barriers within the neurobiological social engagement system, and very gradually regaining an ability to create conscious explicit memories, which she neurobiologically hadn't been able to do for about 3 years. During these intense experiences, Kristen took her unconditional identity a step further. And you can explore a little bit about this in a recent video I shared. I'll link it in the video description below. It's a very powerful meditative experience. It's a very powerful meditative experience about grounding in an unconditional identity. And manifestations of my inner child created that in 2020. So I'll link that in the video description below. Please feel free to check that out. Being alive is such a miracle. Being alive is such an impossible, beautiful miracle. Okay. So Kristen, later in 2020, took her unconditional identity a step further and decided to associate attachment need fulfillment with a sense of unconditional identity. And so there's 4 distinct attachment systems, which you can explore in my first thesis statement in this Implicit Revelations case study. And it also is explored in deeper dynamic depth in my Liberated Consciousness diagram, which you can one day explore in my book, Liberated Consciousness. And so Kristen said, my attachment needs are fulfilled in relation with my unconditional identity. With every breath and every heartbeat, I see and love myself. With every breath and every heartbeat, I am protected and provided for. In every breath and every heartbeat, I am supported and connected from within. In every breath and every heartbeat, I respect and embrace who I am. And so Kristen began to take this unconditional identity and take it a step further by embodying the unconditional identity in relation with attachment well-being and attachment fulfillment. And now, my entire identity is loving presence. I no longer associate with being anything else. There is no element of experience that defines me. And part of this comes to attachments. When we are attached externally, then we are defined by external particulars. If we are attached to a relationship, then we are defined by that relationship. And our sensation of loving presence is focused on that relationship instead of our own being. If we are attached to a particular experience, whatever that might be, maybe it's a person, a place, a thing, an idea, an investment, a career, a passion, a hobby, a desire, whatever it is, if we are attached externally, then our consciousness will be limited in its expansiveness because neurobiological applications are relating with the external element of experience. But when consciousness teaches the brain and the body to be attached with its own being, because consciousness doesn't actually have attachments, only the brain and the body have attachments, which is fascinating on so many levels. And so when consciousness teaches the brain and the body to socially engage with itself and become attached to its own self, and consciousness fulfills internal attachment needs for itself, then the identity has to do with the being rather than any element of experience. And that's so powerful because then we have more power to maneuver anything. Because if we are defined by experience, then we are lost and consumed and reduced by whatever we're going through, which a lot of times we might not have power over immediately. In the long term, we always have power to shift where our experience is headed, but in the immediate moment, a lot of times we are where we are. We're going through what we're going through. There is no way that in 2020, Kristen could have understood that she was completing the halted stages of neurodevelopment and reintegrating her neurobiological social engagement system to completely radically transform the entire way that her brain and her body were experiencing itself in life. There was no way to understand that that's what was happening. And so surrendering to loving presence got her through that. And then surrendering to loving presence in 2021 helped me process all of the stuff that's happened over the past few years while creating my known documentary series and expanding my Implicit Revelations case study. And so when we choose to identify with being, love, and presence, then we are grounded in the truth of our being, and our self-essence experiences a profound liberation into a greater fullness of the truth of its beingness and the truth of its power. Because if we are attached to an external circumstance or person or place or thing or idea or outcome, etc., then our neurobiological structures are going to gravitate to that thing and allow that thing to affect all of this. The thing that we're externally attached to will impact how our unconscious body-mind navigates its sense of self and regulates all brain-body processes. That's really powerful. If we have an external attachment, then the status of that thing is going to impact how the unconscious body-mind instinctively navigates its own sense of self and regulates all brain-body processes. And then the power exists in that external thing, that person, place, experience, whatever it is. Our power is then over there instead of right here. But when we identify with being love and presence, and we allow our strongest attachments to be to our own essence, our own being, then we have so much power to be grounded in the truth of who we are and to exert that power in any type of situation so that we have authority to maneuver through it. If I am loving presence and I'm attached to me, then I have power to maneuver any type of relationship, circumstance, experience, etc. But if I am attached to those things, then those things have power over me. And when we identify with being loving presence, we experience life to a fuller degree. We cultivate a lifestyle of meditative mindfulness where we can feel the little sensations in our life that we might not have been fully attuned with before. If we are attached to a relationship, for example, then the brain and the body might say, okay, I really want to call this person. I really want to spend time with this person. And being in loving presence with that person is more important than being in loving presence with ourselves. And we miss out on our own life because we're trying to get over there to be with them. Think about the power of that. Think about how much power we're forfeiting in that type of scenario. But when we are attached to our own being, when we are fulfilling attachment needs from within, when we are identifying with loving presence, then we are fully absorbed in the true power of our own beingness, and we get to experience the fullness of life exactly as it miraculously unfolds. So I'd just like to invite you today to explore these ideas in your own way, whatever that looks like for you. Who are you? What do you identify with? And how does that sense of identity impact your sensations of personal power embodiment? Are you externally attached and these external things have more power over you than you have over you or within you? Are external attachments pulling you away from your own self towards these other things? And how is that impacting your well-being? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, implicitly. And how much more power would you have if you started to be attached to your own self? How much more authority would you have if you identified with being loving presence? Because think about it. If you're loving presence, then you're not defined by your thoughts. You're not defined by your feelings. You're not defined by your circumstance. You're not defined by your health. You're not defined by your relationships. You're not defined by any of it. If you're loving presence, you're here, you're breathing, your heart is beating, you love yourself, you're in the present moment with your physical body, and that's your grounding point, that's your centering point, that is your sense of self, and from that sense of self, you have more authority to maneuver any part of experience. So I just really invite you to explore this. And you can explore the topic on your own in general. And then dive deeper. And what would happen? What could transform in your life if you focused on having an unconditional identity of love and presence? What happened if who you are became love and where you are became presence? And that was your center focus above everything else. How could that change your life? And so I invite you to kind of explore these ideas introspectively, abstractly, and then I invite you to explore these in application. What happens if you say, I am loving presence, nothing else is me? I am focused. I am focused on being present with my breath. I am focused on the love that is within my beating heart. And that focus is louder and more dominant than anything else in my life. And from embodying an unconditional identity, how can you start to fulfill attachment needs for yourself? How can you start to grow internal attachments with your own essence and reduce the power that external attachments have in your life? So thank you for sticking with me and exploring these topics with me. It's a blessed, sacred honor to share my journey with you and to share some of these ideas that have held so much power in so many different types of healing journey experiences. I love you. I believe in you. You are worthy of loving liberation. You are worthy of personal power reclamation. Every moment is a brand new opportunity. You have everything you need within you. Everything you need. Everything you need is right here in your breath and your heartbeat. From that space, anything becomes possible. Anything. Anything is possible through loving presence. Literally anything. You can rewire your brain and your body from the ground up. You can transform your life. You can reclaim authority in any corner of your experience. You can reclaim authority over any corner of your health. Through loving presence, anything can be accomplished internally or externally. If there's something you've always wanted to do, but it seems daunting or like too big of a thing to approach it through loving presence and you'll conquer it. Through loving presence, anything becomes possible. And when we have a sensation of being, love, and presence, everything shifts. The way we approach our life shifts. The way we approach ourselves shifts. The way we approach our days shifts in a very positive, healthy, uplifting way, where we are more present with the magic of existence and we have more power through the love of our being. I love you. I believe in you. Thank you for exploring these topics with me. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, thumbs up, share, comment, subscribe, all the magics. And if you would like to explore further healing journey offerings through my consciousness consultancy, please explore the video description below. I offer one-on-one consciousness consultations, personalized self-hypnosis and affirmation sessions. I have a variety of healing journey programs and practices. There's lots and lots of magic. The Implicit Revelations gift package, and over 100 different types of healing journey merchandise with original designs. There's a whole bunch of magic. So please do feel free to check out my offerings. And thank you for being here, and thank you for being you. Have a beautiful and blessed day. And from my heart to yours, namaste. The love and presence within my inner being, see and honor the love and presence within your inner being. Infinite blessings, beloved soul friends, and I will see you again soon.